Hey James, welcome to our fireside chat. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. James Varnham, originally from London. I escaped there 24 years ago, and continued what was a fledgling career in professional education and certification industry, and continued that as I moved into Denmark. And over the couple of decades, I've been working for training companies, working on policy initiatives in the EU, working with academia, publishing, you name it, everything around workforce development and upskilling and closing skills gaps. Um, and yeah, the last 8 years really been focused on emerging technologies, of which AI is obviously a major part of that now. And I guess you could say in the last year and a half, really been found my niche or my beliefs in human-centered AI, and how AI can empower humans rather than the other way around, right? Where
Mm.
humans fear it and believe that it's driving them.
hmm
So yeah, and my entrance into coaching was early at the beginning of 2025. I joined the ICF Credentials and Standards Board as a public member, based on my experience in the certification development and maintenance. So my job, I call myself the Black Swan, is to make sure that coaching bias doesn't leak into the development of the ICF certifications, and that they continue to be developed and maintained with the highest rigor and ethical maturity. So that was my entrance into the coaching world, as I'm not allowed to be a coach or even know how to spell coaching, as being a public member on that board. But I've learned an awful lot this year. So yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for also volunteering to be part of the coalition. We met this year, and
Mm.
you applied for that, and I'm glad that you're on board. So thank you for that.
No,
So
yeah, brilliant.
so as we reflect on our fireside chat, I wanted to start with asking you if you've observed any kind of meaningful moments where you've seen human connection, technology, and coaching coming together.
Yeah, so a couple actually. So for me, the most meaningful engagements weren't about AI doing coaching, but rather about AI creating space for better human coaching. And that's kind of the mantra that I've tried to make as transparent as possible in my engagements with coaches this year, and also on the coalition. And that's the way that we should look at AI in the context of coaching. And so the most meaningful moments for me were when coaches found psychological safety when working with the technology in what is a truly human profession in coaching, understanding that AI isn't replacing them, but it does help on a bunch of things, of course, but mainly I think, reflective capacity as an example, is really helpful with a tool like AI. And then later on in the year, at Converge, the Converge conference, really seeing that shift from fear to curiosity with AI, and breaking down barriers, so that coaches can actually understand what it is, how it works, not to get caught up in the hype of what they read and all of that stuff, and really get a little bit grounded with it. So, coaches recognizing their values matter more than less when AI enters the room, if that makes sense. So, it wasn't about AI becoming more human. It was about humans becoming more intentional because
Mm,
AI was in the room.
mm,
So that they were the things that I've noticed, kind of not linear, right? But
mm,
as the years progressed, yeah.
mm. Yeah, and that moment in Converge was brilliant to see people, doing their prompt engineering as you were describing, as you were sharing it with them. They were on their mobile phones actually doing it, so
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was a quite a transformational moment for me as well, because I'm not despite the fact that I've worked in and around technology for my whole career, right? I'm not someone that I would consider as technical. I'm a senior level commercial leader. I build things. I build businesses. but I'm not technical. So I've had to go through my own journey with AI, and I'm quite a reflective person by nature. And that has kind of led me down the road of, experimentation. Obviously, I had the natural interest in it because I was working in and around emerging technologies, but I really had to figure it out for myself. And I think that that helped in empathizing with a combination of how quickly the technology is advancing and what humans need to understand in order to work with it better. And that's how I came up and created the rat feet context engineering framework, to help people have a really unambiguous, understandable way of providing AI with the context it requires to provide the output that you're looking for,
Mm.
instead of just going down a rabbit hole of arguing with AI the whole time. So that's taken a lot of traction, and yeah, that was a really enjoyable moment to see people in front of you,
Mm.
kind of the light bulb going off. So
Mm.
yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
And as AI is emerging, and we experiment and learn with it, what should we be keeping in terms of keeping AI human-centered, ethical, and inclusive?
Yeah. So, ethics with AI is critical regardless of which profession or which industry you work in. But I think when it comes down to coaching, um, which is deeply centered around integrity and ethics, because you're directly impacting people that are sitting in front of you a lot of the time. And it's such a trusting relationship between a coach and a client. Um, It'd be the same, I guess, as, a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, but these are all kind of regulated professions, whereas coaching is unregulated. And that's where it's, such a fantastic initiative that's been driven, that you've driven in establishing this, the AI and Coaching Coalition, which obviously is made up of all of the big coaching bodies and representing truly a global cohort of professionals in all walks of life to actually understand all of this. So, I don't think in general, I don't think ethics is per se a constraint. Especially in coaching, I see it more as a design brief.
Mm.
And if you traverse that into the technological part of things, then I think I think transparency in if we look at the industry in general, I think transparency will beat sophistication.
Mm.
I think if a coach can't clearly explain what AI is doing, what it's not doing, and where human judgment sits, then AI doesn't really belong in that coaching relationship. So that's where coaches, I think, really need to um, understand what AI is and how it can help them, so that they can clearly, transparently explain how this is enhancing what they do for a client. And that will help the whole profession. AI, it must never speak for the client. As I said at the beginning, it's really helpful in surfacing reflections, which I think can be helpful. I often say that AI is such an amazing tool for unlocking these little boxes of inspiration in our brains, that we might not have gotten to
Mm.
ourselves. And that doesn't mean it's doing the work for you, but it's inspiring you to think deeper about something and reflecting deeper about something. What we, you know, flippantly say going down the rabbit hole, but that's
Mm.
really what reflection is. And
Mm.
so yeah, that's it must never interpret identity, or intent or truth. That's what it mustn't do. That's where the human part of coaching really has to stay, and why I truly believe that coaching will remain a human profession. Obviously, AI can help, but
Yeah.
that's the empowerment part. So, and then inclusion really is about access rather than automation.
Mm.
So, as I said, reflective practice is, brilliant for it. I think for coaches that are in underserved markets, AI can be quite quite powerful as well. Um, I don't like the terminology so much because it deflects the importance of coaching, but some have described it as lowering the barriers to access to coaching
Mm,
for individuals. And I think to a point that that can be really helpful, but really is a using a commercial term, really being as a lead generator to identify like how coaching can be so empowering and so transformational for people to then take the next step in actually working with a human coach. So I think to a certain degree, that's how AI can help the inclusive aspect of it. Maybe even coaches that are in, from a language point of view as well,
mm,
AI can be helpful in combination with underserved markets. But yeah, it's I'm sure there are a bunch of other things, but they're the things that kind of come to mind. Yeah,
mm.
yeah,
And if you could imagine one shift to positively shape the next chapter of coaching, what would it be?
yeah. Well, I think, and this is normal for technology in general. So any new technology, we tend to um, move towards the new not new shiny thing, right? So and that's happening with AI right now, right? So if we can move from, and I'm sure we will move from it, but if we move from like the fascination with tools, um, to move away from the sort of polarizing debates that we have around AI, like from AI is going to destroy the world to AI is amazing. And
Mm,
that's quite a polarizing aspect, and it gets quite nuanced as well, depending on different people's beliefs, and there is truth, I think, in probably everything. It's like anything, we need to find a middle ground here, and then individual experimentation, I guess, kind of this it work it's in my work with adoption programs in organizations. We talk about kind of breaking down these silos, and I think that that's kind of similar as well with coaching. If we're able to break down the silos, that if we put it in the context of the coaching associations and the coaching bodies, that every single coaching body has a completely different belief system around AI, then that's a problem. We need to, and I think that's how the coalition is going to help, because we're going to at least be debating this in a structured way with experts in different fields, and hopefully come to consensus, right? And
mm,
that's what democracy is. We find some happy medium, and I hope we move from those things to shared principles, reflective practices, a real, I won't say prescribed, but a very well grounded level of guidance in how AI could work in the coaching profession, because it shouldn't be forced on any coach either and feel like that they have to use AI. But then if they are going to use it, how it should be applied, right? So I'm kind of going around your question here, but yeah, I hope if we can go from the tool fascination and get beyond that and understand, the out of the speculation into the more practical aspects of how this impacts the profession, move away from these polarizing debates, bring them on, right? We need to have the debates, but to move away from it and more move to these shared principles,
mm,
and protecting coaching as this human profession whilst harnessing technology to give space to increased stewardship.
mm,
Uh, I suppose that's what I hope for. I can't say what I think will happen because no one knows really. If you listen to some AI companies, we're steps away from AGI, and
mm,
others are like we're nowhere near it, and it's never going to happen. Um, and I think that there is a longer way than a lot of people actually believe, and that's really, a technology is obviously AI is incredible in how it has captured and is being used by so many people. Using it is one thing, using it intelligently is a totally different thing, and I think that that's where we're stuck right now, because there are still hundreds of millions of people a week using technology as it has advanced, as
mm,
so much in the last 2 years,
mm,
3 years, and still using it how they were using it when ChatGPT was released.
Mm,
So there needs to be, as with anything, this whole continuous learning, curiosity driven, um, driven initiative, if you like, by every single person. And I think that that is where the biggest challenge is, and where the the AI experts and the big media voices and all of that are not helping, because it goes back to that fear cycle of normal non-technical folks like coaches and everything, thinking that the technology is moving so far and so fast that they're unable to keep up, and they end up not doing anything. And the analogy that I use is like, okay, well, you wouldn't put a 5-year-old on a massive horse and go into the Olympics jumping over Olympic-sized jumps. If you've never ridden a horse before, you need to start off on a smaller horse and jump over or walk over some hurdles, and then get confidence, and then move on from there, because confidence and achievement will foster motivation in learning more about something. Pressure has never been a good tool for motivating people to learn. So we really need to get grounded, and that's what I talk about. That we need to go beyond the hype and cut out the noise and figure out how we use this thing, step by step. So
mm.
yeah, yeah,
Being very practical from your own point of view, your practice. Because what I'm thinking is, with AI, the benefit is around differentiation, personalization, contextualizing it,
yeah,
and therefore, each of our coaches is going to use AI in a different way because it needs to fit their practice, fit their mission, or as you described, not fit it because they're deciding not to. They're opting out
yeah.
of it for the reasons of their purpose or their mission. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we've talked about it before, and that AI, AI is a mirror. It's reflective of us, and I think that this is the thing that really empowers humans more the most when they actually look at it. When thinking about AI, that it will give you the output it gives you is completely reflective of what you put into it.
Mm,
You are in the driving seat. I mean, what it will spit out plausible, very intelligent sounding stuff, but it's not going to be you. So if you want it to be you, you have to feed it with this context, and you are in 100% control of that. Of course, there are, some niggles when it comes down to how it writes and some of the AI traits
mm,
and all of this stuff. But in general, if you want it to be your reflective partner, your co-worker, your ideator, your inspiration for different things, brilliant, but only if you feed it with the right stuff. So
mm,
we're really AI is the engine and we're the drivers.
mhm,
That's really
mhm,
what it is. So
mhm.
yeah, yeah,
And as we begin to close our fireside chat, I have one last question for you. If you look onto
yeah,
the horizon,
yeah.
what do you think will change about coaching and what should stay the same?
Well, 100% it should still be a human-led profession. Um, I've noticed, obviously my background is in learning and development, working in the learning industry. And I've seen this year, I mean, if, back to your earlier question, what I've seen this year is that as I've learned more about the coaching profession, and I have this 2-decade experience in the learning profession, that coaching is becoming a more and more integral part of workforce development plans. That I see it as the bridge between actually learning something and transformation.
Mm,
And I think because AI is fueling, it's able to create more content. So people are able to learn more up to date with things theoretically, but it leaves some space to actually transform, which is all part of the whole reflection part of coaching as well, to really transform by using a coach. So I think that coaching is going to remain human. I think that AI will be a big part of it, as it is a big part of any industry. And I think that there needs to be a huge job and responsibility on the shoulders of those that govern this profession in helping coaches understand what it is good for, what it is bad for, and if it's good for something, what are the ethical requirements that they need to follow in order to do that.
mhm,
So I think that that's, I think that's how it's going. to move. I don't see a world where we don't have any more human coaches.
No, exactly.
Hmm.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, James, it's been wonderful to connect with you again, and thank you for sharing your time and your insights. It's been really valuable.
Well, thanks for having me, Susan, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Bye for now.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.